Welcome to Tooltech Geek. Today I'm gonna show you some very strange pliers. This has a very weird pattern that reminds me of the Nazca lines. So if you were to go to Peru, they have these very ancient patterns on the ground that are called the Nazca lines, and sometimes I talk about it in the History Channel. That would be funny to mention the guy of Ancient Aliens, but these were made by people hundreds of years ago, if not more. Now, going back to the United States, if you were to go to Utah, they have a university there called Brigham Young, and BYU is the initials. They've been developing some type of pliers that are based on flexures, so they call this compliant. I think this one in particular is supposed to be printed maybe on TPU, different material, but you have a lot of force here being created by all these flexures. Now, I'm interested in building all sorts of strange and very simple pliers, and I'm not the only one. As I researched these, for example, Rob Ives made a plier that has these little loops that produce a flexure, and then there are some that combine flexures with these hinges, which have this type of hinges that are two-dimensional, and there's other similar things. There's even commercial products based on this type of mechanisms of flexures. This is a plastic hemostat that you can buy on Amazon and other places. There is some made of metamaterials, so you have repeating patterns and you can create kind of things that can flex. Some other people have added springs to keep pliers open in 3D prints. But what I'm most interested in now is something along these lines, which is combining these hinges with springs. In the past, I've been using these sort of hinges to make pliers, and then I will add an elastic band to create a springiness and also to hold it together, because this is very flat and they will kind of fall apart. So I was using elastic bands. I did a variation recently with some gears that was kind of interesting. It also requires rubber bands, and my question was, can I remove the rubber bands? Basically similar to this. Could I have hinges plus some sort of springs to create a completely 2D plier that doesn't require extra components? So I did some sketching and some trials. I even printed this prototype that doesn't have springs but has 5 hinges instead of the usual 4, which is one too many, so it was not useful. But eventually I took a pretty much the same as this mechanism with 4 hinges, and I added springs on each hinge. So the springs produce 2 effects. One is to hold it together, so I don't need those rubber bands anymore, and the other is to produce the springiness effect. So when you don't push, this stays open, and then you can close it. So I like that idea, and I did a different kind of trials. This one, the shape wasn't very good. It was kind of hard to close it. So I did some modifications with opening the handles more, and it works pretty well actually. I really like this. So it's very simple, just a completely 2D part that has springs, hinges, and acts as a spring-loaded pliers. I did a larger size with more spring here, but this wasn't too great. There's not enough room here for a spring. So I reduced that a little and now it works. Now another thing about these, if you were to print this or laser cut, one problem could be that this has to be very precise, all these circles. So if your cutting mechanism is too thick, for example, the curve, then this will not be very precise. Same thing if you're 3D printing it at a certain scale, this is maybe too close to that and they can get kind of stuck. And that will force you to have too much tolerance, which is kind of bad for the precision of the thing. However, you could take this and fold it. So if you take it this way, you can produce the pliers with tighter tolerances, but you don't have to make this part close to this. You could basically cut it this way and then fold it. So that could be a way to make it with more precision. So, but in the end, I ended up with these kind of models. I think they might be able to refine a little more, and maybe there are simpler solutions, but this was what I came up with at this moment. For example, for the handles, maybe a better idea would be to do something more similar to that for that spring. And I don't know, for this, maybe there's other shapes that work better. But in any case, happy with the result. I wonder if you could make one like this out of metal and have a very flat spring-loaded plier that doesn't require any extra elements. It's all self-contained. This still may come apart, so maybe you need something to hold it in place here. So I wanted to share these explorations going from things that require rubber bands but are useful to some strange ones with gears, and now we have hinges and springs. These are just print and use. Could be useful to hold small items, kind of precise precision. And I can imagine what could be to print it in metal. So that's all I wanted to share. I also am gonna mention that I made this mini tool that has lots of functions. And at the time of this recording, we have some on Etsy. If you're interested, feel free to check it out. And that's all. Thank you for watching.